Hi, my friends. Welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast, and this is Heather, and I am super excited that you're here. You are going to hear some tips and some tricks and some ideas to help you live your happiest and healthiest self. I call it Back to Me because when you are taking care of yourself, back to me, then you can take better care of others, and we can all make the world a better place. This is Wellness Your Way, and I am super happy that you're here. Hello, my friend. Welcome to yet another episode of the Back to Me podcast. And this is another Podapalooza episode, which means the conversation is a little bit shorter, still packed with information and amazing humans. But I want to pop on and let you know about who we're going to be talking with. So let me make sure I say her name right. Michal. Michal is the author of a book called Becoming Soulful. And she talks about the Becoming Soulful 6 keys for profound transformation in your therapy, coaching, or healing practice. And she talks about the difference between soulful living and soulless living. And we talked a little bit about the difference between self-care and soul care, because sometimes when you do this self-care, you don't feel as refreshed as you think you should after your self-care. You're thinking, after my self-care, I should feel great. So have a listen because it was very interesting. She is a certified professional life coach, Reiki master, spiritual mentor, medical intuitive, social worker, and she is passionate about elevating consciousness in the world, one soul at a time. She empowers women and healing professionals to become soulful and shine in their personal and professional lives. I really enjoyed my conversation with Michal, and I hope that you enjoy our conversation as well. Would love to hear some comments. If you want to leave them in the comment boxes, give us a little heart, a little like, a little share, and stay tuned. Have a great listen. Hello, my friends. I hope you're having an outstanding day. Welcome back. Another edition of the Podapalooza version of the podcast, where we are speed dating with some amazing human beings and sharing how you can uplevel your life and make it even better than it has been. And today we are talking with Michal, the Spiegelman. Yay, I said it right.
You
Cheering,
did.
cheering.
Yes, you did.
Welcome.
It's so
It's
nice to meet you,
see
Heather. It's so nice
Yeah.
to be here.
And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things today. And what I'm super curious, and my guests know that I always ask this first, is what I know you just wrote this book on becoming soulful. So what drew you into creating this book? What was your inspiration, or what was your experience that drew you into creating this book?
Yeah, so I know, I think it's 30 years of work, 30 years of helping women heal and heal deep trauma. And it was just time to, to bring to share my method that I developed. It's called the Soulful Healer with the world. And I think that my book, Becoming Soulful, that will be released this summer 2024, is taking the reader through a journey, an inner journey of profound transformation, as we walk through 6 keys that I believe those keys can really help us connect to our soul and then, live a more vibrant life. And when I look about my journey, many times during my life, I'm sure that you know that from your own personal, crisis, health crisis that you had. I had some obstacles, I had some health crisis, I had some issues that happened, and I never realized that even when I took care of myself, and even when I got the professional support, looking back, even after I got better, I still felt empty inside.
Mm.
And when I look back at that and say, I'm supposed to feel good now. For example, one of my, I had a few wake up calls, but one of my wake up calls was that I have to wonderful children, adult children, but I was pregnant 8 times and I lost 6 of those pregnancies at the 6 or 7 months. And every time when I lost a pregnancy, I went into early labor. So I had to grieve. Oh, not I had to. I was grieving over 6 babies that I lost. So I got professional help. I worked with a therapist. I got very depressed after the 6 pregnancies stopped, even though I already had 2 wonderful children.
Right.
But the talk therapy that I did with my therapist was not enough for me to release the grief that I carried in my body. And now fast forward to my method that I developed starting from my own personal need, but then it became the method that I use with thousands of women that I help them heal. My method is saying talk therapy is not enough. And we need to look at the person in a more holistic way. And my wish is really that professional therapists and mental health counselors, healing professionals will integrate soul work and spiritual work and body work with their professional work, again, because talk therapy is not enough. And it's all about becoming soulful and receiving the guidance that you need from within, whether you are a woman who's trying to not burn out and get less overwhelmed, or you are a professional who is helping this woman.
Right. And it's so interesting. It's so true. I see that people do sometimes benefit from talk therapy and it helps them through some things, but I always felt like for me, talk therapy was just reliving and reliving and reliving something instead of figuring out how to transition through it. And I mean, I went the route of hypnotherapy to release some of these things that were stuck in my cycling patterns. But interesting, like we were talking about self-care versus soul care. So I think it would be brilliant if therapists brought in soul care into it. Um,
Right.
and I see like I can understand there's resistance in that traditional mindset of a soul. We haven't even proven it exists. But I don't know. I think we got some pretty good
Mm,
evidence. So what do
right.
you see as that difference between the soul care and the self-care?
Right. And I'll say that in a minute. I just want to say
Yeah,
I'm not bashing talk therapy. I'm doing talk therapy myself, of course, but I'm combining it with the
right.
body work, with the energy work, with the spiritual work, and with the soul work. So I just want to be
Yeah,
clear about that. But yes, good question. What's the difference between self care and soul care? And I'm going to read just a short section from my book when I talk
sure.
about that. And I say self care refers to the practices and activities we engage in regularly to reduce stress and maintain and enhance our short and long term health and well being. Self care takes us into the core of one's being, embracing activities and practices that resonate with our deepest values, beliefs, and sense of purpose, fostering a profound connection with our authentic self. So, self care keeps us well functioning, while soul care makes our lives deeply meaningful. And
Right.
an example, a personal example I can share about that is that in the peak of the pandemic, I was supporting so many people through my classes and private practice. So many people and workshops and everything. Just I really stepped up everything and helped. And in the peak of the pandemic, I reached a point when it was all too much for me. I felt burned out. I felt overwhelmed. I really wanted to continue doing that. And it was just like, time out, something is going on with my body. So I took some time off and I did all the self care practices. I rested more, taking a walk in nature, doing whatever I need to do just to take care of myself. First of all, just to have a break. And it felt like it's not enough. And I maintain a daily practice of treating myself with Reiki and meditating for 30 years, and I do it every day. And I was like, what's going on here? Is my daily Reiki practice and meditation not enough? And what
Right.
happened was that I wasn't aware that my soul was really crushed just from carrying all the grief and all the emotional burden from everybody. So I actually had to really pause and dialogue with my soul and ask my soul, uh, what do you need? What do we need now to really get better? And then once I was intentionally once I became intentional about soul care, really taking care of my soul, then I was back in my power, back in my zone, and I could really continue to help many people. But I really remember the moment when I was like, what's going on? Is self-care not enough?
Right. And it's true, like, when your self-care gets tossed around often, they say, go to the spa. It's like, well, that's not enough. But what did you find you had to, what was the difference you found? So Reiki and meditation, I see as a form of self and soul care almost, because
Mm,
it's like you're caring for that
yes.
deeper version of you. But what else did you find that was lacking in your care that you needed at that
Right.
time?
Yeah, that's a good question. And and I think what's important to understand is that what soul care for me may not be your way of caring for your soul, and what's self care for me maybe can be different than yours. So it's not a question that we can ask and say all people should do this and this and this to care for their soul. It's really depends on the circumstances and on what's going on within you. But if I go back to the pandemic, I was sitting, I was consistent with my practices. I knew that I have to sit with my Reiki and with my meditation every morning and every night and to clear my energy. But once I connected with my soul and I asked, what do we need? Right away, the message that came up was movement and music, movement and music. And it was unexpected because I was so busy saving the world. I was so busy helping other people. Like, is this the right time now for music and movement? But I listened to the guidance. And what I started to do is intentional movement combined with music. I actually took an online class because the pandemic, there were so many online classes available for
Yeah.
Qigong, combined Qigong, and then another. And I created my own routine that I started to do twice a day, in addition to my sitting practice, where I move my body intentionally to music that speaks to my soul, not just any music. And looking back, clearing the pain and the suffering that I was absorbing,
Right.
the way my soul wanted me to clear was through movement and music, and not through just sitting.
Right. Yeah. And it is true. That's why the podcast is called Back to Me Wellness Your Way, because everybody needs
Hmm,
something different. Everybody
I love
will
it.
resonate to something different. We're all a slightly different vibration, right? We may be all the same tune, we're all connected, but we're all different instruments playing together. So that vibration that works
Exactly.
for one person won't work for the other. Some people need to sit more.
Yes, exactly. And it's really different thing for different people. I'll give an example. I train people to become soulful healer. I take people through the journey that I offer in my book. And one of the women that I worked with, it was very unclear, like what's her way back to her, like using your words. And as she was journeying through the chapters of the books and so the book and doing all the exercises, again something surprising happened, and that often happens with soul work, that what emerges is unexpected or surprising, or something that if we had a conversation it wouldn't even come up. And what emerged for her was she started to write poems In the beginning, it was short poems, then it became like longer poems. And it really came out of the blue. Like one day, as she was journeying into her soul and following one of the guided visualizations that I share in my book, then she had the urge from within to take a journal and a pen and start writing poems. And then she started to write more and more and more poems. And this is a woman that didn't feel so comfortable talking in front of groups of people, and it's more about intimate conversation, but it became really her way back to herself through the poetry, through writing poems. She was able to express herself in a way that was very different than any other expression channels. And it's not that it came from her intellect or from a decision she made to write poetry. It was really guidance she received from her soul, and she's still doing that. And
That's
it
amazing,
was a life changing for her.
right? That's amazing. Um, and and I understand a little bit, like, sometimes that sharing that you wanna do isn't out loud, but you need somehow to capture, so I can see poetry doing that so well. And you were talking earlier about 6 pillars. What are you talking about? What are your 6 pillars?
So 6 keys. Yeah, 6 keys
Keys,
for profound.
keys.
Yes, keys. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter, but 6 keys for profound transformation. And I don't think we'll have time to go over the six, but I'll just mention some of them. The key of empowerment, the key of spirituality, the key of authenticity, the key of vitality, the key of insight. So, for example, in my key of insight, I present the idea that tapping into inner wisdom and tapping into the collective wisdom, that's the best way to receive guidance, to receive insight from within, because most of us rely on the intellect to receive insight. So in the key of insight, in the insight key in my book, I take you through a journey of connecting with inner and collective wisdom through different ways. Or the key of vitality talks about how we leak energy. We have leaks in our energy field. We have leaks in our energy. Where we leak energy, we give away our energy, we give away our power. And many women, as well as professionals, they don't have the vitality they need to stay energetically fit. And
Right,
when we talk about burnout, for example, if we don't address the leaks and if we don't have a way to take care of our vitality, then of course we will lose energy and will burn out. So that's just an example. And one of the keys is the key of spirituality, because I believe that in addition to empowerment, like connecting to our true power, to our personal power, we want to connect also to something bigger than us.
right. Yeah,
And spirituality doesn't have to be in a religious way, a
yeah,
non-religious spirituality, but we get burned out because one of the reasons is because we put so much pressure on ourselves. We try so much, we work so hard, and if we create a partnership with something bigger than us, call it existence, use universal energy, or creating force, or God, doesn't matter the title that you use. But if we create, once we create a partnership with something bigger than us, then this partnership helps us to maybe balance making things better, but also letting things become better. There is a
right.
level of surrender there.
And you do see that people get so focused on, we've been taught and trained to focus all your energy on working very hard for these physical rewards, the jobs, the careers, and those, if you're in a spot that feeds your soul, then you feel that uplifting. But if you are doing it because it's the you're supposed to get a career in XYZ because, I think about those families who have everybody all the men in our family have been doctors, so you will be a doctor. What if that's not what they're supposed to be? What if they're supposed to be a poet? Then that striving and all that work, I could see as that huge suck of energy of you giving everything you have away to something that is depleting you instead of helping you.
Right. Yeah, and you mentioned in the beginning that uh, I had a blackout for a minute. Something that
That's
you
okay.
said ring the bell for me, and I wanted to talk about that. And now I don't remember. It will come back to me. But I think that the main thing is to really find our own unique way to connect with our soul. No, I know it came back to me. You mentioned in the beginning that the word soul can be very scary and people don't even know what's the soul and is there a proof. So to really bring it down to earth for a minute, then see the soul as just the pure essence of who you are. The pure essence of who you are, like the purest really essence of who you are. So the purpose of the soul is learning. That's the soul's purpose, learning. The soul wants us to go through life learning, growing, and expanding. So the soul doesn't care about productivity, achievement, all the things that you mentioned now. No, the
Yeah.
soul wants us to learn. The soul needs to learn through us. So while we are busy racing life and trying to achieve and to sometimes to overachieve, as our soul is not judging that. Our soul just, if she could talk, she would say, live life to the fullest, experience it all. There are no bad feelings. Like, you want to live life, really experiences all range of emotions, and that's really what it's all about. It's this learning and growing and expanding and living, becoming soulful. And
Right.
living in a soulful way means that you are willing to learn the lessons and to keep growing, expand. That's the purpose.
Right. And it reminds me of, you must know Esther Hicks. She
Yes, of
channels
course.
Abraham. Abraham
Yes.
always says, you're here to experience contrast, which is Abraham's way of saying the things you may not necessarily like. And it is interesting, our lessons come from experiences, not from this constant drive forward. So, and it's a really small difference, but if I'm sitting at my computer and I'm working, 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 you can say I'm having an experience, but that's not the same as an experience as, walking out and saying hello to a stranger. Would you think that's not productive?
Right.
Oh, yes, it is.
Right, right. But and also, I'm curious to ask you your experience, with women that are burned out. Don't you think that one of the maybe natural automatic tendencies that women have when they're burned out or they're overwhelmed is to try and push away the feelings and get better and right and just like
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
in a way.
think about like
Go ahead.
the all of the messages that we have been fed over our lives that women are, these superwoman has to have the family and the career and look after the husband and then come home and make the dinner. And you can hear the dialogue that would play in someone's head that I don't have time for this. People depend on me. I'm a failure as a woman, human, mother,
Mhm.
wife, etc. if I can't do all of this. And then the forgetting that if you if you deplete yourself to the point where you can't take care of any of it, I'm not going to put the word failure on you because I don't think failure is a thing, but it is a lesson that if you don't put and women are the worst, they'll put themselves below the pets, like on the hierarchy scale, right? No, cats come first. No, they don't. You have to come
Yes.
first. And it's
Yeah.
not selfish to put yourself first so that you can have that energy and be in that space of vitality and engagement and be able to see from a calm place to manage, oh, this person needs help. I can help them. And also by taking care of yourself, I think that empowers your children to recognize that you are valuable and that they are valuable because that teaches them to take care of themselves, right?
Yeah,
Stop
exactly.
that
Yeah,
constant
right.
training.
And I think even women that are, are strong women and driven and independent, we all have this natural tendency to avoid connecting with pain,
Mhm.
with the less comfortable feelings. So with burnout and overwhelm, we would like to like fix it, push it away, like
Well,
change it,
if
and
you can't show weakness, right? We've come to
exactly,
this world
exactly,
we've come to this
exactly.
world where we claim, feminist rights and we are
Mhm.
equals, so you can't show weakness. In fact, you
Right.
have to be better than the men because
Yes.
if you're
And
not,
and is it really weakness? If you feel completely burned out and um, um, i- burned out, overwhelmed, the first step really is for you to make space for those feelings and to really sit with them and be with them. I remember when I had this crisis during the pandemic, that one of the first messages that I got is like, sit with it, be sad, like allow. Now, I was very conscious, like not to allow the pain or the suffering to take over, but we are pushing it away, and we really have to make space for the feelings, the overwhelm, the burnout, whatever it is, to be with it, to give it compassion,
it's like a
not
pressure
pushing
cooker,
it
right?
away. Exactly.
It's the pressure cooker. If you keep shoving more in, more pressure in, it's gonna explode. You gotta like let the steamer open and just let it out,
Exactly. Yes. And
right?
that's the duality. And that's the duality that, you mentioned before, right? The duality of we want to make sure that we make space for the emotions that maybe we'll label them as negative. They're not negative, the anger, the
Yeah.
sadness, the grief, the anger. And at the same time, also allow ourselves, give us a permission to experience the joy and the happiness and the hope. And it's
Yes.
really the duality of allowing opposite emotions and experiences coexist, because that's our soul's purpose really, so we
Right.
experience life to the fullest with those,
Amazing.
yeah,
And
yeah,
how does
expressions.
everyone find you when they want to
Yeah,
come in
so
on their soul journey?
yes, so thank you for asking. So sorry, my book, yeah, which is my soul on paper, actually. My book is going to be released on August 6th, 2024. So if you're listening to this after August 6th, 2024, find me on Amazon. My book is Becoming Soulful, 6 Keys for Profound Transformation, Michal Spiegelman. And if you listen to this before August 6th, 2024, then my website is beaconsofchange.com, beacons with S of change.com. And then you can do /book and then get all the juicy resources about my book. And maybe you can join the virtual launch party. So beaconsofchange.com, Michal
Awesome.
Spiegelman, Becoming Soulful.
And we'll put all of that in the show notes as well so people can go and grab it um, if they're driving. And um, do you have a final word of wisdom before we say goodbye to the audience?
Your soul has the potential to be your perfect guide. Connect with your soul.
So good. So good. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing all of this. I can't wait for your book. That'll be amazing. And friends in podcast land, connect, order, share, find your soul. Take care of yourselves, my friends. And we will see you next time. Take care. Thank you.